Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Thing that went up in Baltimore?
Yeah.
Oh, man, wow. There's a movie that's on Comcast/Xfinity this week, a rerun, Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman. It's called Unforgiven.
Mm-hmm.
And Clint Eastwood's character blows this saloon owner away with a shotgun at close range. The sheriff, Little Bill, says, "You just shot an unarmed man." And Eastwood's character comes back and said he should have armed himself. Well, I'm looking at what happened in Baltimore, and I look at all these chicken-eating pimps like Al Sharpton.
What happened in Baltimore? Is something recent?
Buffalo.
Okay, Buffalo. Okay, so I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad you're talking about Buffalo.
All right. Use the two. They're both kind of down. But anyway, Buffalo, and whining about feds need to protect us. Hell, we need to protect ourselves. And I keep having that resonate in my head, that Eastwood character saying he should have armed himself. They should have armed themselves. And the idea that somebody 18 years old who shouldn't even be allowed to have the weapon, who was in illegal possession of the weapons and the equipment, was able to walk in, and there was nobody but one off-duty somebody in law enforcement who had opened up on him, even though the body armor that he was in illegal possession of was able to defeat most of that. That is a shame that all those people got gunned down because there was only one decent citizen in there who, by dint of the fact that his previous career involved him in law enforcement, was armed.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got folk that want to talk about white supremacy and how we have been kept down by white supremacy. And their solution is to appeal to this same white supremacy to be fair. Oh, my God, you need to be fair. For all these hundreds of years, you have just done us so wrong. Now it's time for you to straighten out. And we beg you, we've been such good dogs. Woof, woof, woof. In the time you appreciated all we've done for you.
Judge, let me ask you this. Should the boy have walked out alive, unharmed, or untouched after what he did to those people at the grocery store?
Well, let's put it this way. The people involved in his apprehension, having followed the law, the only way they could have done something other than have what happened happen is to kind of, fudge the law. Now, here's the thing. Sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. We keep talking about how the law is violated for black folk. It doesn't get any better if it's violated for all folk. Now, a lot of what happens in terms of the violation of the law that people see is the result of individuals cherry picking what you hear. It's a slow news day, and out of 150, 200 incidents, somebody 23 years old just got hired trying to make a name for himself or herself in some obscure newsroom for a local station, stumbles on something and puts it out because there's some cell phone video that's available. And we look at it and go, oh, my God, look what they're doing. Well, sometimes you stumble on a bad thing that is rare. Most of the time, it's a common thing. And there are other explanations which, if heard, put context on the matter.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to pay attention to what you're doing. We had, for example, I talked to you earlier about this, Trayvon Martin and Zimmerman. Well, Anderson Cooper on CNN has the hots for gun control, so he started harping about castle doctrine and no retreat being positive evils that needed to be changed so this travesty wouldn't happen again. Well, first off, castle doctrine had absolutely nothing to do with the situation because the castle doctrine only applies inside of a castle, somebody's home or in somebody's yard, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That was out on the streets. No retreat. Well, the person that had the right to no retreat wasn't Zimmerman. It was dead Trayvon Martin. But, of course, that wasn't explained to the public, and it was so bad that I had to lecture one of the lawyers who initially got involved working with the family on, hey, man, what are you complaining about? We got to change this thing about no retreat. I said, well, it was your client that had the no retreat doctrine, not Zimmerman. Huh? Now, here's somebody in law and doesn't even know it. So why aren't people like myself who do know the law and tell the public, it was Trayvon Martin that had the right to no retreat, not Zimmerman, and CNN just another example historically of them discrediting themselves by spreading disinformation. Why, by the way, wasn't Jankowicz concerned about that kind of disinformation that has a mass influence? You see.
Yeah, Joe, I got to ask you this as well concerning the Buffalo incident where a worker from the grocery store called 911 dispatcher, and the dispatcher hanged up on her in the midst of an active shooting situation.
Oh, that was atrocious. If true.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they have suspended the person pending the outcome of an investigation on that.
So what do you think? What do you think should actually happen in that situation if it's proven that it did happen like that? What should happen to the dispatcher?
Well, how serious do you want to get about it?
It should be very.
Assuming for purposes of this discussion, we would call it in law for arguendo, that the allegations are true, well, you might even be able to prosecute the person as an accessory.
Wow. And what should be the penalty? I mean, like, what would be the option?
Well, it depends on the state. But
that's serious. 10 folks lost their lives, 13 people were injured. That's a serious charge.
That becomes arguably criminally negligent homicide, say under Tennessee law.
Mm-hmm.
So
would it be considered a hate crime? Would this be considered a hate crime?
I don't recognize hate crimes.
Okay.
Because hate crimes lead immediately to oppression of everybody, including the so-called beneficiaries of the hate crime laws. See, hate crimes mean you say, I don't like you. And you say, I don't like you because. Well, see, let's assuming we put hate crimes in place. What about all of the black folk who talk about they don't like white supremacy? Well, that technically becomes a hate crime as it applies to white folk. And trust me, there'll soon enough be some cranked out fascist administration somewhere that will go after these black activists for saying white folk do this, white folk do that. That becomes hate crime. Now, I always got taught sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. You know, we used to amuse ourselves in elementary, junior high, and high school by running the dozens. Hey, man, I don't say nothing about your mama, man, but you know about, you know, man, it is what it is. But these little delicate pansies we've got now, they can't take it, apparently. So we've got this thing that has been spread by the media over a half century about everybody's so delicate we kill ourselves because somebody said something negative on social media, so we got to go commit suicide. Oh, we should never shame anyone. But then again, that's what preachers used to do. That's what parents used to do. Teachers used to do. Society used to do to keep people behaving correctly. There is nothing like personal shame or the threat of being exposed to personal shame to get somebody to act right. And then we used to have, man, dude ain't got no shame, man. He do anything. Well, that's basically what they've been trying to put out as a social model these days. My dude ain't got no shame. He do anything, man, for the whole damn society. So it gets real crazy.
Now, I'm going to go back to the Buffalo thing. I think it's important because people really want to hear from you, your perspective on these type of things. The Peyton Gendron, whatever his name is, who should be liable with him? Like, should you hold the parents accountable? Because Kamala Harris was sending parents to jail or prison in California for the kids not attending school. So should the parents who roof he stayed under be liable for their son? Because how do you have access to get all this tactical gear and weaponry if he's at 18? I mean, does he have type of military or law enforcement connections? I mean, should the parents be held accountable among other people?
The allegations are that one uncle, even though he knew he had mental health problems, got some of this for him, at least a weapon. It was illegal for him to have it. And by the way, Kamala Harris did that in California, but Amy Wyrick did it in Shelby County, Tennessee. She locked up a whole lot of people and prosecuted them here in Memphis, Shelby County, Tennessee, over the last couple of decades because, let's say, their children were late too many times for school, or the parent in several cases dropped the children off on the steps of the school, left to go to work, and then got prosecuted because the kid ditched school. So that's just one of these boutique opportunities to prosecute. In prosecution circles, certain things become the designer crime of the moment. So if we're getting on Kamala Harris, the fake negress, then we ought to get on the witch here, Amy Wick, who is the prosecutor in Shelby County, who, by the way, has been found by several major law schools as the most corrupt prosecutor in America. They found that she has against her personally more findings of prosecutorial misconduct than any prosecutor, well, not any prosecutor, any prosecutor's office collectively in the United States over the last 2 decades. In other words, against her personally has been found to have engaged in prosecutorial misconduct more times than the entire office of the L.A. County prosecutors, the New York's prosecutors, Chicago, Illinois with, Miss Fox has done. So we have a mess here in Shelby County and some corrupted voting machines that get her in there and keep her in there. So what are we going to do about it? Why are we worried about Kamala Harris doing this in California when it's done right here in Memphis, Shelby County, Tennessee? People responsible, our county commissioners, are voted on by the people in Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee, And we're worried about what Kamala Harris did some years ago in California when it's happening right here and we have control over it. But within limits, I don't want to embarrass anybody by whipping his ass being an old man. Been taking martial arts 55 years, and that's the fallback.
Well, you know, soft target, Judge, because like the dude, the shot all them people at the grocery store, they were soft targets. You were hard out. You know, you ain't gonna be no soft target. I don't see you as being no soft target, dude.
Yeah. Like, come on, dude. Is what you really want to do? You sure now?
But I just don't understand. For the life of me, I really don't understand how he got there alive. I know what you're saying about, you know, procedure and law and stuff like that. But you remember, like back in 2016, when Michael Xavier Johnson shot up the police officers down in Dallas during their Black Lives Matter rally. They sent in a robot to blow him up. They blew him up.
Well, this dude had a lot of video cameras on him, cell phones, and you can see the Fuhrer if they gunned him down. Police execute suspect. You know, they would just flip it because these idiots in media now have no principle. They just want to generate ratings because they're alternatives to their broadcast stations, and they don't want to become too irrelevant.
My thing is, like, the oldest victim was an 86-year-old grandmother named Ruth Whitfield. Her son is the fire commissioner of Buffalo. I mean, to me, I think it would have been justifiable. I think people, but why is people trying to connect this to Cal Rittenhouse? It's funny how people see the Cal Rittenhouse situation differently. Like, you see it from a different prism than a lot of people that look like you see it.
Yeah, well, the way I look at Rittenhouse, I look at a mob attempting to lynch somebody, and the intended victim of the lynching turned out to have teeth. I approved. I mean, I looked at it and I thought, that's justifiable.
So people were saying that his parents, his mama put him in the crossfire, though. She dropped him off with the gun in that environment, in that hostile environment. So really, it's a self-defense when he should not have been there as a, you know, he's a teenager with a gun.
Well, but there's another thing, too. There's an interesting thing. The old stuff about militia made you eligible to be in the militia from 14 years up. And technically, what he did, since he brought himself to the attention of the police, is he was acting as part of a posse comitatus. And was doing what good citizens from classically in America 15 to 60 were obligated to do, which is to be part of the common defense.
But he wasn't deputized. They didn't deputize him, though.
You don't have to deputize.
Okay.
In other words, you have an obligation to the common defense in that state. So he was doing what he was doing. I didn't have any problems with him. They tried to lynch him. There is a presumption that if a mob is approaching someone and they intend to fall upon you, you're in danger of suffering death or serious bodily injury. This thing that they have with the new Emmett Till anti-lynch bill is interesting because guess what?
What?
It doesn't talk really about lynching. It doesn't even require killing. It just says if there is a killing, a beating, or a kidnapping, and if the mob was going to lay hands on this guy, it would have been at least an unlawful restraint, which would have been, under that state's law, a kidnapping. See, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and unlawful restraint become lumped in with kidnapping. So that would have been a federal lynching. And even if they didn't kill him, see, the new lynch bill doesn't require killing. It says killing, beating, or kidnapping. So the second one, they probably would have beat him. So under those circumstances, he's entitled by law to resist the lynching. Now, more importantly, that state and Tennessee says, even though it is illegal for someone under a certain age to possess the firearm, that does not remove their legal ability to use the firearm for self-defense. So even if he had the weapon illegally, he had the legal right to resist the mob. And by the way, the new lynch law they have does not require a mob. It could be one person. One of the things, for example, let's say a guy broke up with his old lady. This guy that called you threatening you, and he and his old lady break up, and he's at a club dancing with this hot babe, he thinks, short skirt on, big boobs, even though they're implants, all made up, looking foxy, and they're dancing and exchanging a lot of tongue with each other, and then he notices this thing is getting a hard on. So he says, wow, you a dude, man. And then he busts him in his mouth, bloodies his lip, or knocks a tooth out, or breaks his jaw, under the new bill that is now a federal lynching case, which involves the feds and the FBI and the prosecution, even though it's just in a bar. See.
That stuff is crazy. I know people on edge after this pandemic stuff, man. It's like people are like mental health is it's mental health month, right? You know, it's mental health awareness month, May.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.